Welcome back. Today we'll be looking at ORBX's latest release, Sedona. I have to say, this one really is a stunner. Jared Marshall really hit it out of the park with Palm Springs on his last go, but he actually managed to top it in many ways. Word of advice: I know that many flight simmers just love sunset flying. Here, that is a total waste of the scenery. My strongest recommendation before you do your obligatory sunset flights is to fly this place during the day so that you can actually see the colors and the details in the terrain. Today I'm flying this video in IRIS's new T6 Texan II. Bear in mind the T6 is not the easiest plane on frames, being roughly equivalent to the A2A C182 and the Milviz B55. Yet here, managed constant frames locked at 40. I did have some micro stutter issues. When live flying, they were barely visible, if at all, but alas, shadow play tends to exaggerate micro stutters. So any stutters you see here are virtually invisible during the original flight. I did try some different settings this week, like fiber frame time fraction at 0.01, setting an affinity mask, and locking frames down at 30, based upon some evangelizing that I've been seeing on some of the forums. Most of them didn't work and or were counterproductive. For this video, I did have terrain shadows, but disabled cloud shadows because cloud cover was pretty light. Certainly if I had chosen a lighter weight plane, like the 172, Cherokee, or the B35, I'm thinking that micro stutters wouldn't have shown up as much in shadow play's video output. Another thing to bear in mind, the T6 is considerably faster than most civilian GA aircraft. Most of the cruising here was between 145 and 180 knots, and the approach speed was over 100 knots due to the fairly high wing loading of the T6. For this flight, I deliberately tried to cover the entire scenery coverage area, although on this flight I only hit one of the canyons, the Oak Creek Canyon. After takeoff now, and I am making a left-hander and heading towards the east. Here we are passing by the Chapel of the Holy Cross at the base of that rock. After checking that out, we'll continue east to make our way to Oak Creek Canyon. Oak Creek Canyon is formed by Oak Creek, which runs roughly northeast-southwest through the scenery coverage area. It is very visible due to the fact that it is a winding strip of greenery in the desert landscape, with various golf courses seemingly making up most of the rest of the green here. Thanks to the Texan being a small turboprop with plenty of grunt, we could easily climb out of the canyon and head back towards civilization. Below is Seven Canyons Golf Course, and then beyond it to the right is the Enchantment Resort, nestled in among the rocks. Having checked out these resort properties, we will turn back towards Sedona itself and the airport for a flyover. The mesas, buttes, and rocks are all mesh-based here, and probably could have benefited visually from the Monument Valley type 3D rock models, but that might have pushed performance down in this busy area. Having overflown the southwestern portion of Oak Creek, we will turn again and continue on, and soon we will find ourselves approaching the village of Oak Creek, whereupon we will once again turn north. Leaving Oak Creek behind, we put the power on and start climbing so we can surmount Lee Mountain and circle back towards Sedona and the airport. That is a nice thing about the T6. It's not even working hard to do this. Even a 182 would be scratching and clawing its way up to go over this mountain, especially at these altitudes. As we get past the mountains, the added shadows from terrain shadowing are visible down below. Not much adds more three-dimensionality to flight sim than shadows. And now we will start our descent. The T6 is a pretty slippery aircraft, so descent and keeping speeds down is not a short process. Gear down and locked, and let's see how well we lined up on the runway. Another thing I really like is how the airport is located on a mesa, creatively named Airport Mesa, almost giving the feeling of landing on an aircraft carrier, making it only appropriate that I'm flying in a Navy trainer, looking in vain for the 3-wire. Well, I hope you enjoyed our visit to Sedona. This is truly a remarkable scenery. Jared Marshall, as usual, incorporates massive details, many of which, to be honest, are transparent to my style of simming, i.e. from the cockpit. But the view from the air and from the taxiways is truly stunning. Palm Springs and Sedona make a remarkable duo, not only for flight simmers, but for retirees. If you liked what you saw, please hit like, and by all means subscribe. Time to pull chocks. Later.